Okay. Okay, hello, hi, my name is Daniel. I'm here to perform some comedy for you. I'm sorry, not about the comedy, it's good comedy, you can have a great time. It's just, as you can tell, I'm a bit, as obviously seen, I'm a bit, nervous. Those are my only two notes that I have for the whole show, so I'm just gonna have to wing it now for the next hour. It's not your fault, by the way, that I'm nervous. I mean, it kind of is, but you shouldn't blame yourself. I'm nervous a lot. I have a lot of fears. I look nervous a lot of the time. I get people coming up to me in public asking me, why do you look like that? What's wrong with your face? And I just have to say it's my personality. I just have a lot of fears, and I think my favorite fear come on, we all have a favorite fear, right? I'm not crazy. Our go-to fear. I think my favorite fear is people. Specifically, talking in front of people that are all looking at me and silently judging me. So this is my nightmare. But it's not about me. My job is to make sure that you are having a better time than I am, which is good because the bar is set low. As long as your nightmare isn't a Michael Cera lookalike telling you jokes, then we're going to be alright. I have a lot of fears, probably a fear of everything, including you, so everyone feels involved. These aren't phobias, I should stress. These are just the generic fears. I'm like a jack of all trades, but with terror and hopelessness. Just simple things like eating dinner with someone is so terrifying to me because it is so simple, but that means it's so easy to screw up and you'll look like an idiot if you do, because there's so many things you have to keep track of. You have to eat the food, you have to make conversation. That's two things, but it quickly overwhelms you. I might be stupid. I have a fear of animals as well because I'll never know what they're thinking, and that makes them unpredictable. You know how they always say they're more afraid of you than you are of them? That doesn't apply in my case. I've had snakes slither up to me and then slowly backed away just to make me feel more comfortable. I have a fear of my sister because she's a constant reminder of all the wrong turns I've made in my life. She's my younger sister, and she's just grown up a lot faster than I am now. She had her first drink before I have. She's in her first relationship before I was, and I had a 2-year head start. She also curses a lot more than I do, and that's really hard to listen to. I mean, I don't know if anyone out there feels the same way I do who has a younger sibling, but watching something so innocent doing something so grotesque, it's like watching Tinkerbell bleed. Oh, I went to your dance recital once. I had a fear of the Hulk. Emphasis on had, which shows progression. The Hulk was my favorite Marvel character, and then one night I had a nightmare where he punched me in the face and it hurt. And I became that irrational girlfriend that gets mad at the boyfriend for doing something he did in the dream. except technically my boyfriend did do the act because both him and the act were imaginary, so he would have acted. A lot of people were concerned for my mental well-being. In case it isn't obvious yet, I have a mental disorder, but I like to think of it as a mental disorder. No, I don't. It's not that fun. And I know you can't say mental in that sense anymore because it's considered un-PC, but I can say it because it's our word, okay? I don't really know what it's called, what I have, because I've been told many things over the years. I call it panic and anxiety disorder. Panic and anxiety disorder basically means that I'm not allowed to be calm because there's already enough of that going around. And I've had it all my life, and it really has impeded me for having the life that I want to live. And I often wonder where it came from, just so I have something to blame. Like, the school I went to definitely didn't help me be normal. Like, what's the saying? If you had even a remotely good time at school, then you were making someone else's life hell. That someone else was me. Hi, we had math together. Look, I won't say the name of my school because I know if I did, they would craft a hefty lawsuit against me. All I'll say is that it was Anglican. That's bad enough, isn't it? Just, you have to develop a nervous twitch because God's always watching. It wasn't a total waste of space. I mean, they had a tennis court, which was... One time I was on those tennis courts and a group of bullies stole my basketball. So it was a fair fight. I went to go get a teacher. The teacher looked at the bullies and said, "They're not stealing, they're sharing." Then he walked away. It was that type of school. So, in retrospect, it wasn't a horrible school. It was just filled with horrible people. I think the best way to describe them would be that they are the type of people that would laugh at Schindler's List. Sounds like a joke, but that actually happened. I know, that's taking it too far. I'm on your side. To set up the story, I need to say that because I went to an Anglican school, Jesus was on the curriculum. But they wanted to name the Jesus class something like hip and edgy so that it kind of tricked kids into thinking that they were having fun. And they called it Religious and Values Education, but they called it by the acronym. That's right, every week my schoolmates and I went to an hour and a half of rave. We went to a rave class. If you went up to someone in my school and said, "Hey man, do you want to have a rave?" they'd say, "No, sounds terrible. I don't want to read Genesis again." It was in the values section of the rave, which is the best part, because the teacher doesn't really know what it means. Like, they just put on a movie with some religious imagery and say, "I don't care anymore, kids. We're watching The Matrix. The only person who can ask questions is Neo, so shut up." But my friend was in class and the teacher decided to watch Schindler's List, which is a very powerful biopic about Oskar Schindler, a man saving Polish Jewish refugees during World War II who, in real life, saved the lives of over 1,000 people. So it's a very dramatic film. And then one person started laughing. I don't know, maybe there was a punchline. And then another person started laughing, and another, and another. A full class of 30 monsters couldn't stop laughing at another great Liam Neeson comedy. Look, but I'm not one to judge. I haven't seen Schindler's List. It might be a hoot, but there are many indicators to say otherwise. Number one, it's about the Holocaust. That's the only point I need. That should be proof enough that the movie wasn't made to get some yucks. The only reason that I can think that the movie is even remotely funny comes from a book. It's called The Cheeky Monkey, and it's about writing narrative comedy. It's by Tim Ferguson, one of the only comedy teachers in the world, and a very funny man. On page 5, because I read the whole thing, Ferguson outlines the underlying primal response theory. This theory describes how the key elements of humor, namely surprise and human vulnerability, generate laughter. In essence, laughter is a response to danger. Laughter is a fear response. Now, I'm willing to bet that a lot of people were afraid during World War II. So maybe it was because my schoolmates really understood the fundamentals of humor. I like to think it was because they were evil. I won't say pure evil, because in that story the Nazis were also involved, and putting them at the same level I think is excessive. So going to school with people that lacked empathy, I was bullied quite a lot because, look at me. Who wouldn't bully this? I look like panicky Peter Parker pre-powers. Well, I describe myself back in those days, and me now as a matter of fact, as like Ralph Wiggum with self-awareness. I can explain. Ralph Wiggum is a character from The Simpsons, and he's one of those people that no matter what he says, he's funny. So we have that in common. He's sort of like this well-meaning, dim-witted, innocent kid. But if you'll notice, Ralph Wiggum is always by himself. He's always alone in the corner, not with anyone. But he was blessed with ignorance to not notice that. And even if he did, he'd go, where is everyone? Oh, a light bulb, and quickly get distracted. The problem with me was that I was very aware of my surroundings. I fully knew that I was alone. I was by myself, wishing that I could talk to someone without making myself look like a fool, and just wishing someone would talk to me. And though that is quite a sad description of myself, it's kind of funny, you know, because it's Ralph Wiggum. He's the one that says, I choose you, because of the train. Oh, I found that if you want to say something sad about yourself, always make a comparison to something cute, and people will focus on the cute thing. An example of this would be like, oh no, I just found out my wife's cheating on me, but I can't leave her. I'm stuck. Like, I feel like a dog stuck in a shoe. Have you seen those pictures? Pause the video and Google dog in a shoe. Go to Google Images. It's the most adorable thing. How do they get in there? How do they get in the shoe? More importantly, how are they going to get out? It's the most cute. Ah. See? All your sorrow just blew away. When I say that I used to be the real-life Ralph Wiggum, people ask if I used to eat glue. I didn't, but it's how I put my sandwiches together. So I was bullied. I was called names, and rumours were made about me, like nefarious fan fiction. But it was okay, because everyone was getting rumours made about them at that time. Like, puberty was really attacking the creative parts of our brain. And because I spent most of my time with my back against the wall, not saying anything to anyone, which is a lot of people's strategies when they go to prison, the bullies didn't really have a lot of basis for a rumor about me. Like, all they had was that I had two friends, and one of them was Hamish. He was a boy, and he was my friend, so they put the two words together. Time magazine called them young geniuses. That's all I'm going to say. The rumor that they came up with was that I was gay and in a relationship with Hamish. Now, this is the kind of stock standard rumor that gets thrown around a lot, so they needed to come up with some evidence. The evidence they found was that Hamish was a bit chubby because I'd gotten him pregnant. That's a big leap, wouldn't you say? Like, I was in year 9 at the time, I was 13, 14, and even at that level of experience, or lack thereof, I still felt that's not how it works. Like, I mean, it still hurt that someone made a rumor about me, someone had malicious intent, someone was trying to drag me down. I was at the bottom of the barrel, and someone was trying to kick me when I was more down than down. You know, but I'm over it. Water under the bridge. I would have been a great father, by the way. I would have been confused to how I got there, but I would have managed. Speaking of parents, I have two. You probably figured that out due to my life. You know, a lot of people take after their parents, so maybe they're the guilty party. No, wait, I take it back. Look, my parents are great. They are. But they are proud of me. They say they are proud of me. So part of them wanted me to be a jittery mess. Like, I just, look, they weren't perfect. But whose parents are? I think when you look back on your childhood, it's like looking back on a movie that you used to watch all the time when you have a frame of reference of what good movies are. Like, when you're a kid and you watch this movie, you're like, wow, this movie is the best movie ever. It needs to win an Academy Award. It needs to be in a Hall of Fame. It needs to win Golden Globes. And then when you grow up and you watch the movie again, you think to yourself, I don't think Barbie as Rapunzel was ever that good. Like, this is the same thing with parents. Like, when I was little, I thought my parents were perfect all the time. I now know that they weren't, which is fine because nobody's perfect. Or nobody's nerfect. Nobody's perfect. I was born in 1997, which was a very stressful time because technology was being released, like Nintendo DS's and computers and stuff, and computers were evolving. And my parents didn't really know a lot about the stuff, so they were kind of nervous because I kept getting my hands on it. Like, all they knew was from what they learned from the news and those like old-timey PSAs that went, this is Bruce. He didn't log off his computer correctly, so now his dog is dead. Those sorts of videos. And the main trigger word in this media was virus. If you make a wrong turn at Albuquerque on the internet, you'll get a virus that's going to steal all your internet money and all the photos of your friends and family on holiday, like they care. So I grew up with very paranoid parents who were very worried that I was going to catch a virus. Like I'd be on the computer and I'd go, hey Dad, I found this cool Crash Bandicoot fan site. Don't go there, son, there's a virus in there. Like, hey Ma, I found this funny video on YouTube, you want to watch? It's not a video, son, it's a virus. Hey Ma, I sent you this email that I want you to have a look at. No, it's a virus. No, it's not, because I actually sent it. That's what they want you to think. Ooh, virus. And I guess that paranoia rubbed off on me somewhat, so I'd be out for lunch and someone would offer to share, and I'd think, oh, there's a virus in that sandwich. You know, but I was the first child. I guess they were overprotective of me, and they still are to some degree. And I think when you have your first child, which apparently I've already done, everyone has the same thought of like, they're perfect. Like, they're so innocent. They know nothing about the world. So I could mess with their mind. I could tell them red was blue and they wouldn't know for years. Because before kindergarten, your only contact is with your parents. So it would be so easy. And I know this because my parents used to do this to me. My dad used to tell me stories, and one I remember very vividly because he told me it was true. And I believed him. Now, when I was little, I was a big fan of space and all the stars and planets and stuff, and so my dad told me the story of the first people ever to go to Mars. Side note, it's 2017 at the time of filming, and no one has ever been to Mars. So he was lying, but I believed him. The story goes, people landed on Mars, and they found alien life, and there were these little parasites. When the astronauts weren't looking, the parasites snuck into their suits. Somehow, give me a break, I was young. They snuck into their suits. When the astronauts got back to Earth, the parasites reacted with the oxygen and killed the astronauts. Why would you do that? I'm not talking about parasites, I'm talking about my dad. Why would you tell me that? You know, sometimes parents tell their kids stories that aren't necessarily true, but have morals that they hope their kids will uphold when they grow up. What moral? What? Stranger danger in space? So no, I never became an astronaut. Maybe that's what they wanted. Look, sometimes parents lie. Sometimes just for fun. Because it is. Oh, here's a lie that all parents tell. And it took me a while to figure out it was a lie. And once I tell you, it's going to blow your mind. Ready for this? When you were a child, you didn't have to learn how to ride a bike. Boom! What a waste of time that was! I always used to ask, why do I have to learn about how to ride a bike? And my dad always said, because you have to, son. What happens if you're in a situation and you have to? I'm your dad, I know better. The first and last time I rode a bike, I crashed into a gazebo and winded myself through my testicles. How does that happen? Why are your lungs suddenly so low? Why are they so near your testicles? I'm asking the men because they would know. Why is that the case? I fell off my bike, curled up into a ball, ironically because I had just lost one. And I looked up at my dad and I said, why did you make me do this, Dad? And my dad looked down at me and he said, all men have to do it, son, it's a rite of passage. Even just thinking about it makes me wince. Another factor that may have influenced me growing up is I was born and bred in Adelaide. For anyone who knows about Adelaide, let me just say it's not true. Look, if you don't know about Adelaide, I'll give you a quick overview. We're known for our Australian football team, the Adelaide Crows, and murderers. Well, there's murders happen here. A lot of people die. And crows are kind of morbid as well, so, you know, kind of grim place. So maybe if I saw everyone in Adelaide doing it, like everyone in Adelaide's doing it, maybe I'll be depressed all the time too. Like peer pressure, right? Like if you want to visit Adelaide, like maybe think about it for a second. No, I'm kidding. Look, I'm in Adelaide. and I'm fine. I've never been murdered. That does increase your chances of getting murdered too, just so you know. Also, you're a tourist and they kind of love tourists, so that increases your chances even further. Yeah, Adelaide isn't a great place. We only have like 2 exports, like me and Sia. Like, we're on the same level here. But at the end of the day, after all this obsessing, I don't really know where my anxiety disorder comes from. Like, maybe I was born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. All I know is I'm dealing with it. Well, I'm dealing with it in the same way that I would deal with Ocean's 11 breaking into my house and starting to steal my stuff. What's the point of fighting back? Like, it's Ocean's 11. Like, just let them take what they want and pick up the pieces when they're gone. These jokes are hurting me more than they hurt you. What's good nowadays is that anxiety disorders are seemingly cool, which is great because we really need that ego boost. But anxiety disorders are cool. People want one in the same way that people look like they're having fun with heroin. Like, on the outside, it looks great. On the inside, I made a terrible mistake, and now I can't get out. But look, a lot of people say they'll have anxiety disorders when they don't have it because they can get away with it. Because anxiety disorders are kind of hard to diagnose. There's a lot of subjective measures because you can be afraid, but only a little afraid, though fear is a symptom of an anxiety disorder. Like, you'd never go to the doctor and they'd say, oh, you only have a little bit of syphilis, so you don't have syphilis. You either have it or you don't. That's not the case with anxiety disorders. Like, you can tell the people that have anxiety and shyness and stuff. They're the people with magnets in their ears and shoulders and they never breathe. Like, it's not the guy in the chinos wearing sunglasses at night because you don't know what time the sun's coming out. There's something wrong with him, but it's not an anxiety disorder. No, I see a lot of Facebook posts that goes like, say, oh, sometimes I like to stay inside and read a book. Sometimes I like to go out to the club and party with my friends. I'm shy. No, you're not. Here's what that post would look like if you were actually shy. Sometimes I like to stay indoors and depress myself about all the choices I will unavoidably make and go wrong. Other times I'll have to stay in my room because I'll have a panic attack and it's all about controlling that area of damage. I'm shy. That post won't get as many likes. So if you're looking for that, maybe reword it. There's a lot of posts that have photos in it as well. And it's like, just a quiet night in. And it's them at the club, blaring music, like strobe lights, 20 people they just met. Now they're best friends. A woman under his arm and the biggest grin on his face. I'm shy. You're a liar. Oh, God. I am on medication. This is me medicated. I just took it recently, so it should be kicking in any moment. But I am on medication for what I have. But I've noticed, because I have to go in quite a bit to get a refill, that there is a kind of shame that comes with mental disorders as opposed to the physical stuff. And so that people who have to talk about it say as quickly as possible so that you think you know what you've heard, but they haven't actually heard it. Like, I'm guilty of this too. So I'll be out with a friend and they say, oh, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'll have a doctor's appointment to get my refill. So I'll have to say, oh, well, tomorrow I'm going to get my listening. So I'll see you soon. What? I said I'll see you soon. That's what I said. And like, there shouldn't be some shame to it because it's just the same as everything else. But then again, it is a mind thing. It's a lot about playing tricks. Like, for organizing the appointment, it takes 30 minutes you have to book the appointment and you book for a 30-minute block. That's never enough time though. That's why everything's running late and that's why they call us patients. So, but you think that your appointment should take 30 minutes at least, right? So I walk into the doctor's office and I say, hi, I would like a refill of my script for fluoxetine. And the doctor says, yep. That's it. That wasn't 30 minutes. That wasn't this is even more proof that they're not taking me seriously. Like, I'm not even going to be surprised if it turns out they've been giving me placebos this whole time. Like, oh, don't worry that your medication comes in a Tic Tac packet. That's don't worry about it. Just keep taking them. Also, ignore the mint flavor as well. That's part of the treatment. Just an additional note, because it is a mental thing that I have, there's a part of my mind, as unconscious as it is, that wants me to be afraid all the time. So when I go into the doctor has to tell me how to take the medication, like what the instructions are every time, just so I remember. And for my medication, fluoxetine, I have to take it once a day, every day, and not to go off it abruptly. And part of my mind says, that's easy, I can do that. And the other half of my mind says, or what? And I have to ignore that. I'm ignoring that. That's being ignored. I'm at university at the moment, which is quickly approaching the real world. So there's a lot of scenarios that I have to encounter that are very fear-inducing. I have to often tell people what I have and what might happen. You know, if I start crying, run to the corner and start rocking back and forth, that's normal. I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm worried enough already. And, you know, some people are very considerate and they're ready to accommodate my needs, and some people just don't care. They think I can handle it, and that's great too. And some people like to give recommendations on how I could improve myself, which is lovely. Look, I can see that you're trying to help, but when I can see you Googling solutions on your phone for my mental disorder, it's not helping anyone. Like, I told someone about it a couple of years ago, and they said, don't worry, Daniel, I'm like you. I'm shy. Good start. They said, whenever I get nervous, I scrunch my toes. You should try that. Oh, thank you. 19 years of problems down the drain, all because I wasn't aware of my feet. How long did it take you to come up with that one? A minute? I am forever in your debt. Another one I got was, don't forget to breathe. I forgot. I was wondering why I was turning purple when I was talking on stage. Look, it's nice to be nice, but this is not fashion advice. This is not if I can pull off stripes. This is a mental disorder. I've found the best way to just shut them down is to give your own suggestions for improvement based on personal experience. So I'll say, oh, I haven't tried scrunching my toes. Have you tried suicidal thoughts? Because I have. It's not very effective. It also helps if you widen your eyes and tilt your head to complete that crazy look that you're going for. I had a girlfriend once. You can clap if you want. I usually get applause when I say that because it was quite an accomplishment. This is a had situation, I should say, because I'm only assuming because the last thing she said to me was 2 years ago. But, you know, it's just an assumption. I shouldn't be talking about it, but I am, because it is important to the narrative I'm trying to tell here. Like, if the first 20 minutes of the show was setting up me as a character and setting the status quo, then the next 20 minutes is about putting some sort of major conflict that I have to overcome. And to set that up, I should say that this is the oldest I've ever been. You might not realize that. So my mind has taken on a lot of different fears to the point where now it just has to make things up out of thin air. And I can just imagine the brainstorming session where the next big fear was being come up with, like the chairman of the board standing up, putting his hands on the table like, okay, gentlemen, looks like business is calming down, which means we're not doing our job. We need a new fear, something we've never seen before, and don't you dare say the Hulk because we all know how that turned out. What have we got? What about a fear of being alone? Thompson! I don't know why his name's Thompson. Thompson, that doesn't make any sense at all. That's the point, sir. It's called an irrational fear. It's all the rage in France at the moment. France, you say? Well, the French hate people. Bring it in, we'll see how it goes. And let me tell you, it has gone strength with strength. Because if I have a fear of people, if my natural instinct is to run away from them and not talk to them, I'm gonna die alone. And that's a scary thought to have at 11-year-old. So a lot of my life has been dedicated to making sure that that doesn't happen. And for me, the ultimate solution is a woman, a wife, a girlfriend, because that is a lifetime partnership, right? Till death do us part. You are my soulmate, and I've locked all the doors in a romantic way. And I just have this image of the future that I'd really like to happen. Just my girlfriend and I entwined on the couch. Something's on TV, but we're too busy with each other. And I'll look at her into her beautiful eyes and I'll say, I love you. And she'll look back at me with an even deeper gaze than before, like she wants this. And she'll say, I love you too. And then I'll look back at her and I'll say, gotcha! Ha ha! Who's alone now? Brain! So I'm single. So ladies, if you this fit my eyebrows now. I hate doing that. Anyway, ladies, I'm tall, dark, and good at rounding up. So 2 out of 3 is basically 100%. I could be your guy. Unless my old girlfriend shows up, in which case you need to get out because we have some catching up to do. Oh no, I'm over it. Water under the bridge. I am over it. But I'm talking about it because one of the first dates I ever went on with her, and one of the first dates I ever went on, was a very early and inexperienced attempt at eliminating this fear while also showing how far I'm willing to go. So the date started me getting picked up by her mother because I didn't drive yet, and we went pick up my girlfriend from her work, and then we went off to where we needed to go. Now I'm very nervous, so I'm just nervously looking around so I have something to do, fidgeting, looking at all the mirrors. I look in the side mirror and I accidentally see my girlfriend in nothing but her underwear. I never mean to be a creep. This is what happens because for this date we're going to AvCon, which is an anime video game convention. A lot of people go in cosplay. The problem for my girlfriend was that we were picking her up from work, so she needed to get changed in the car. You do what you have to do. I couldn't believe this was happening. I hadn't done anything yet, and she was already stripping for me. Does this count as first base? I had to tell someone. The very next person I see, I look, and it's her own mother is in the driver's seat. And I turn into a statue. I have never been more still in my life, surrounded by my nude girlfriend and her mother, who's in the driver's seat, so could kill us all if she wanted. I hypothesize at this point that I start to panic, and from experience, the only way out of panic is to stop digging and climb your way out of the hole that you dug for yourself. Or dig twice as hard and come out on the other side. This is what I like to call super panic, because super panic is panic with none of the physical symptoms. It's great, and I slip into it every now and again. There is one glaring issue with super panic. When I go into super panic, I forget to do important things, like breathe. But my organs don't like that, but because I'm running on adrenaline, who cares? So I'm able to go to AvCon without much of an issue. We'll meet up with our friends. We go into the room where all the booths and goodies are, and they go, wow, there's a lot of good stuff here. We should just do an initial circle just to see what's here. And I went, yeah, that's a good idea. We do a first circle, no one's bought anything. It's well, now we know what's here. Now we know what we want to get. So we can go around, we can buy everything we want. It's yeah, that's a great idea too. You go around second circle, no one's bought anything. So, okay, well, we were just checking prices that time. Now we can buy responsibly and ethically. It's that's very smart. If we go around third circle, no one's bought anything. 20 circles. 20 circles. 20 circles. We're going around in circles. No one's doing anything. And there's no sign of it stopping. One of our friends looks at the Rooster Teeth booth and says, what are they selling again? Oh, they're selling t-shirts, Natasha. It's always been t-shirts. Here's an idea. There's a book booth over there. Buy a book and make some notes before you waste more of my adrenaline, you goldfish. I'm starting to lose it because here's the second glaring issue with super panic is that in order to get back to normal, you have to slide through panic again, which means going through all those physical symptoms you thought you'd avoided. So that my vision's going white, I feel sick to my stomach, like I'm going to throw up, I can barely walk, I feel like I'm doing a Russian dance in quicksand, but I think it's never going to be over, and then I see it. I see the exit sign and we're heading towards it. It's a tunnel with a bright light at the end, which I knew wasn't the afterlife because I'm too young to die. We make it out, and I'm alive, and that was genuinely a surprise. I've kept everything together. And then my girlfriend says, hey, we should go to the pancake kitchen. Isn't the pancake kitchen on the other side of the city? Yeah. Who wants to go? Daniel? And I lean up against the wall and say, nah. And as I'm slowly sliding down the wall so it doesn't look like I fell to the ground from exhaustion, I explain that I'm fine. I don't want to go. No, I don't like pancakes. I'm allergic to pans. Well, I don't know how I convinced her because all my energy was going towards not throwing up onto my girlfriend. The very second I've convinced them to turn around, I go, and nothing came out. It was all dry reaching, but it's not a pretty sight. Like, I'm just getting like really mean glares from people walking by, which was unjustified because, as aforementioned, they were in cosplay. I'm getting mean looks from nerds. What the hell is this? Like, you're by yourself and dressed up like the blue Power Ranger. I won't tell if you don't. And eventually, I calm down. I manage to keep myself together. I get back to normal. And my mind tells me, some people would consider this a failure. It goes on to say, look, you tried your best. That's all you can do. Like, we'll just try again next time. Like, just like every other time. And then I get a text. And it's from my girlfriend. And I still have the text to this day. And it says, we're going to the pancake kitchen. Please come with us. And it ended with an exclamation point. And that really meant a lot at the time. Suddenly, I have energy again, not in the form of adrenaline, but motivation. I can do this. She needs you, and I've come this far. Nothing's going to stop me now. Only one problem, I still can't walk. And that's when I start to pray. Dear Lord, I know you can hear me. I went to an Anglican school for 13 years, so you owe me. I'm not asking for much. I just want movement in my legs again. Make it snappy, amen. And lo and behold, I can walk! It's a miracle! I have to go tell the Blue Power Ranger that things get better, but there's no time for that. I rush all the way to the pancake kitchen. I make it just in time. The waitress asks, what do you have? I say nothing, because you can't dry reach with a full stomach. We walk all the way back to AFCON, and her and her friends get tired and rest up against the wall. And I say, oh, you guys tired? Oh, man, I guess I can rest if you want. I'm so exhausted at this point. Smoke's coming out of my ears. And then we all just hang out. Like, her friends are mingling. I get to spend some quality time with my girlfriend. I'm playing fetch with her little brother. I don't know what you do with little brothers. It wasn't mistreatment. He was having a great time. We decide to call it a night. There's not enough room in her friend's car for everyone, so I let her go with them like a gentleman. We part ways, and I get in the next car. Her mother's in that car, along with the rest of her family. Her father, her sister, her brother, and I am trapped in the corner. No escape. And they're all staring at me with bulging eyes and wide grins. And at one of the stoplights, the father turns around and asks, so, who are you to our daughter? And I look at him and I say, I think I'm the guy that got to first base with her. And then I pass out. And that was the end of one of the first dates I ever went on. Yeah, going out to events and stuff is never really like a party for me. It always turns into hijinks or misadventures. I just have that luck. Another story along the same lines is when I was 16, I got invited to a laser tag birthday party. And if that's not cool beans enough for you, we were right next door to a Domino's, so we didn't have to pay for delivery. That also works as a clap sync. So, we were playing laser tag, and we had worked up a sweat, unironically, and the birthday man's mother had set out 3 drink bottles on the table. We all lined up. I let people cut in front of me, because that's the kind of guy I am. Like, there's going to be water by the time I get there. I'm like, what's the harm in going last? I finally get my turn with the water. I kneel down. It's sort of a low table. I kneel down. The edge of the table is now waist high and I'm making contact with the table. 2 of the bottles empty now, but they were normal cylindrical bottles. So I look at the last bottle, which is a monster of a drink bottle. Like, it is the worst thing. It looks like if you melted one of those normal drink bottles and let it re-solidify in a deformed state. The only word I could use to describe it is used. It had little rectangle bits protruding from the side to increase its volume by milliliters. It doesn't matter that much. But, there's no harm in that. Like, there's still water. I can still get my drink. I unscrew the lid. I look in. It's filled to the brim. Of course it is. What's the harm in going low? I'm an idiot sometimes. Because it's filled to the brim, and it's hard to hold. I have to hold the cup and the drink bottle at the same time and try to tilt the cup into the bottle, so pour the water in and it went everywhere. Of course it did. Where else could it go? Like, one of the older friends walks over and said, "Don't worry, mate, I'll show you how to pour a cup." It's like, "Oh, thank you, mister." It's easy now. But look, I have my cup of water. This incident is over. So I go to stand up. And because I had been making contact with the table during the spillage, some water had gotten on me, more specifically the area I was making contact with, which was about waist high. I knew what had happened, what the true story was, but if a random stranger were to walk in and look at me, they would think to themselves, that young man has become so excited whilst playing laser tag that he wet himself. This was a very delicate situation of high tension. I had to think fast to get out of it. I had to think quickly. While I was thinking, someone looked over and pointed, "Oh my God! Daniel wet himself!" And everyone thought it was the most funniest thing they ever saw, and everyone was laughing. Everyone was laughing, almost. And it became the running gag of the night. Someone came over and said, "All right, here's where the bathrooms are. You got that, Daniel?" Ha ha ha! Never heard that one before! And nobody knows shame until you've had to hide what appears to be a soiled crotch behind an Addams Family pinball machine. Lurch is just looking at me saying, "You wrong." It's like, "Shut up, Lurch, don't draw attention to me." And that is why I am called the Limbo Master, because no matter how low you go, I can go lower. I'm at a laser tag birthday party, I wet myself. I am the odd one out in most scenarios, or to save time, you could just say that I'm odd. Because I know what's cool in 2017, I'm not, and that makes me odd. But I know what cool is. I've seen it firsthand, and I don't like it. I don't want to be a part of it. So that gives me some sort of solace. I got invited to a friend's birthday party recently at a rooftop bar, and to me, I know rooftop bars are cool nowadays, but to me it just seems like a really bad idea. Like, rooftop bar, like, drunk people fall over and you're already adding to the height. Like, what are you doing? We get there and everyone sat down except me. I didn't have a seat. Odd one out yet again. So someone from the staff walks over and says, "I cut down a tree today." What am I supposed to say to that? It's, "I cut down a tree today. Hold on." And they bring out a tree stump for me to sit on. And this was not an oak tree. This was not a tree that grew up in a forest. This was a tree that grew up on a traffic island. And it couldn't grow because cars were whizzing past it all day. Like, I can't sit on it because it doesn't fit me. And I'm just constantly adjusting myself the whole night, looking at my friends sitting on a leather couch that has had the leather removed because it's not vegan. So it's just the underlying wires, and I just wish I had that. I never thought I'd want that. And I can't hear what they're saying because the conversation's getting drowned out by the DJ who's playing a remix of a dishwasher short-circuiting and a toaster short-circuiting, and they're clashing against each other, just and it just worms its way into my brain and implodes it over and over again. And I'm hunched over with a massive headache. Am I cool yet? No, because you don't have a beer. Someone get this man a beer. No! I don't drink. I never have, because I feel like I'd be a sad drunk. Like, I'm over it, water under the bridge, but I feel like I've bottled a lot of things up, and I'm quite thin too. So with my metabolism, one sip would make me turn into... Why doesn't anyone like me? Stop looking at me. Oh, I'm so weird. The grasshopper only had one leg. One leg. So I stay away from this stuff. One of the first parties I ever went to that had drunk people in it, I knew I was in trouble. Because as soon as I walked in, I saw the drinking version of Noughts and Crosses. I think it was called, like, Shots and Regrets. I don't remember. I walked in and I immediately said, I won't be drinking. And everyone was just shocked. And they were like, you're 19, right? And you're not drinking? I knew you were an undercover cop. But we got over it eventually. I'm drinking from the same cup all night. I start to hear snickering in the corner of the room. So I go over and I ask, what's everyone laughing about? And they go, we spiked your drink. I was, what? Because I'd never had alcohol before. And I said, what, you spiked my drink? Yeah, we spiked the drink. We put alcohol in the bottle of Coke outside. It's like, what is your problem? You can't just do that to people. And I was drinking solo all night. And they pause. Because they hadn't gotten me. I wasn't drinking Coke. But you forget that they were drunk. So logic did not apply to their argument. It was easy for me to prove my point because my opinion was based on fact. And theirs was... no longer in English, like whatever. That night was the first night I'd seen drunk people like in the wild, as you could say. Like I saw a girl in the corner just saying 83822111 83822111. I just hope she didn't think she was counting. I went outside and closed the door a little bit too loudly, so the person already out there said, "Shh, I'm looking at stars." Why does sound affect your vision? Okay, it doesn't matter. You won't remember me anyway. So I've accepted the fact that I'm not going to be cool. So I'm just working on making myself look more entertaining to look at to make up for it. So like I'm like wearing better clothes. I'm parting my hair on the side. I'm working out. You know what the best thing about working out is? When you injure yourself. It makes sense when you think about it, and I may encourage you to do the same. When you work out, here's a story. When you work out, part of the reward is when you go out, someone will say, hey, do you work out? And you can think to yourself, yeah, I look good. Say yes and not be lying. So when inevitably people ask me if I work out, I can say yes, go home, and not do it because I'm injured. It's great. Like I say, oh, should I work out tonight? Oh, I don't know. I still have a little twinge in my neck. Might as well sleep it off instead. Relaxation is an important part of any regime, I've heard. But I thought it was all coming together. And recently I was talking with my friends, and one of her girlfriends saw me walking to class. And she told my friend what she thought about me. And I thought, here we go. Another woman has been entranced by the allure of the Dan Man. Don't call me Dan Man, that was a poor choice of nickname. Daniel's fine. So I ask, what did your friend think of me? And she said, she said you looked worried. And I thought, worried? That does, you mean I look like a warrior? Oh yes, because I do work out. I look very heroic. That's what I was going for. She's very observant. And she said, no, not like that. She meant like you look concerned. And I went, that I can't spin that. That's not good. What else did she say? She said you take long strides. So I take away from me is that I look concerned and I take long strides. Like a lost ostrich. Like, I was in the zoo a second ago. Now I don't know where I am. If only I had a map or a giraffe. They always know where to go. I am self-conscious enough to now be working on my walk though, so I look more human, or at least less like a bird, like a different bird, like an eagle, like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets is proof that a bird can be hot. Just me? It is my fault this is happening. That's right, I'm the real life Ralph Wiggum and Eeyore. Oh bother. It is my fault because I'm weird when I go outside and talk to people, and not even talk to people, just when I go outside. It's whatever, the sun does not agree with me. I'll be out in a cafe and I'll see a woman at the table next to me, and my mind will tell me, that's a woman. That's a woman in the same room as you. But don't panic! This is what happens in real life sometimes. Sometimes women show up. Whatever you do, do not overreact. She's smiling. She's smiling. Oh, she's not smiling at me, of course, but she has a very nice smile. She must be a good person. She will be mine. Not literally, of course, because I don't believe in slavery and I think equality is very important. I'm getting distracted. You should make eye contact with her, because I've heard that's a good thing. I read that in Woman's Day. That's a signal. That's a sign that you like her. I'm going to give it a go. No, okay, I'm going to try again. No, okay, one more time. No, I can't do it. I can't look at her. It's like looking at the sun. Society has always told you not to look at the sun. But they've never proven why I'm not allowed to. Why am I not allowed to look at the sun? What beauty are they hiding up there? I have to try one more time. And she's looking at me. And that's a signal. That's a sign that she thinks you're a pervert. Oh my god, look away. What is wrong with you making eye contact in public? Where's your shame? Okay, we gotta look up again, make sure she's forgiven you. Oh no, everyone's looking at me. Okay, get out of here. Pack up your stuff, run home, hide under your sheets. And try again tomorrow. And that's the kind of thought process I go through on a daily basis. I think at this point you may realize that I talk about my mind as if it's in the third person. But you've spent about 40 minutes with me. I think at this point you realize that my mind's not a great person to hang out with, so distance yourself would be good. It's harder for me, but I'm trying. Because there is a duality there. Like, one night I had a nightmare that I was still in school. No! If that wasn't bad enough, I had an assignment due that day that I hadn't finished yet. So I woke up, heart racing, I'm sweating, and my mind tells me, okay, there's an assignment due today. You have to wake up early and finish it because it is due today. And then I sort of came to a bit, and I managed to tell myself, you are 20 years old. You aren't in school anymore. There is no assignment. Let's just go back to sleep. And my mind says, oh, okay. But when are we going to finish the assignment? And no, it was a dream, right? We're not in school and there's no assignment. It was just a nightmare. It's, oh, okay. So we wake up early to finish the assignment. No, and it was just back and forth between those two for I don't know how long. I was listening to an argument in my head against my brain and a voice I had to create with my own mind. And they were arguing. And this is me in the prime of my life. Like, I'm not senile. By the time I reach 50, I'm gonna have 5 voices and a cat up there. Why a cat? Because all the crazy ones have cats. You know, sometimes my brain is moving so fast it looks like it's not moving at all. Because sometimes it might not be moving at all. Like, I was at an Australia Day event by a river, very descriptive, and I was getting introduced to a gaggle of new people, and they were all introducing themselves. Like, okay, it was just an introduction. So my brain went, I'm gonna head out. Like, this is simple, you can handle it, I'm gonna be on a break. My brain takes breaks. Bad idea. So I get introduced to everyone and they're introducing themselves. So Uncle Ben says hi, Aunt May says g'day, Ma and Pa Kent say hello, and I say I say was my greeting, but wasn't a greeting, it was I said and as soon as I said that, my brain kicks down the door and says, I leave you for 1 second, and that's what you come up with? All you had to do was say hi. And that was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, and I promised myself it would never happen again. Cut to a year later in a lecture room, a group of people ask to sit next to me, and I say, Ech. It's better than It's just my brain works way too quickly. It's like it's taking long strides, as you will, because I'm pretty good at that. Like, oh, this dinner tastes funny. My family's trying to kill me. You've been walking behind this woman for a while. Take the long way or you're a freak. The person sitting next to me isn't talking to me. Your split personality has angered them. Also, you have a split personality. I got an internship a couple months ago, and one of the co-workers leant over and asked, what is your religion? And my honest to God first thought was, I'd love to be a ninja. That wasn't me being like a bigot or anything. That's what I thought he said. Do you want to be a ninja? And that's why I thought that. And it would have been fine if it wasn't posed as a question. When the conversation goes, what is your religion? White belt, it doesn't make any sense. And like, the talk became rather frozen after that. And I went back to being alone, thinking about ninjas. Which brings me to the final act of my story here, where the hero is supposed to reach some sort of ultimate conclusion, satisfaction. It's not looking too good, is it? No, it doesn't matter what I do, who I am, or who I'm with. People will always be laughing at me. They're laughing at me. Like, they are laughing at me. They're laughing at me, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Imagine how much laughter I could get if I did try. And right before people start laughing, they're smiling, which means they like me. Ergo, if I am always funny, that means people like me. That's a healthy thought. I knew from that moment on, the reason I was put on this earth, the sole thing I was meant to do was to make people laugh. I was going to make people laugh. Which sounds kind of forceful when you say it like that. Like, I'm gonna make you do something. Like, I'm gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna make you laugh. Don't look over there, look at me. I'm gonna make you laugh. I don't care if you don't want to laugh, because I'm gonna make you laugh. You're gonna sit there, you're gonna watch me, I'm gonna tell some jokes, maybe fall down a couple times, and you will laugh. That's sort of mafioso type comedy, and that doesn't really work for me because I'm about as intimidating as a stick insect. My style of comedy is more like politely encourage you to laugh. Like, if you laughed, that would be great. That would make me feel good, and I think it would make you feel good too. But it's up to you. Honestly, I don't mind either way. It's your choice. Just know that laughter is an option. And that's my style of comedy. I've been working on that since the day I could talk at the tender age of 3. That's not a joke. My first word was at 3. I wasn't a late bloomer. I just didn't have a lot to say. No, I've been working on comedy for now. I've even prepared a couple of jokes for this show. Do you guys want to hear it? I don't know who I'm talking to. Alright, here's the first joke. Hey, what direction do stairs go? Up? Down? Pick a direction, stairs. Here's another one. Everyone loves skinny jeans nowadays, right? Maybe. So everywhere I go, people are talking about their skinny jeans. Skinny jeans this, skinny jeans that. But look, I don't mind if Jean is skinny or fat, and I think constantly being referred to by her weight is giving her self-image issues. Last one. Every second counts, but I know long division. So what's so great about a second? I got sentenced to 1 year in prison, but they never said which year. Okay, I'm not proud of any of that. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm still working on it. I'm a fan of physical comedy as well. And my dad used to teach me comedy stuff. He taught me how to do stunt falls against the wall. And I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, even when I was doing it myself. So when I was little, for fun, I used to run into walls during recess and lunch 5 days a week for... I don't remember how long for some reason. Might be the head injuries. But that's what I did for fun. I would run into walls, and it was the greatest time of my life. And then I got sent to detention because I ran into the same wall every day at school. And that wall was the office wall for the main teacher hall, where serious things were going on. They were talking about the budget and who would be fired the next year. And all they heard was thud, thud. And they got so mad. I got told off really badly. A teacher walked out. They didn't know what the sound was. And a teacher walked out and said, "Who's doing that? There's serious things going on in here. And it sounds like there's a wrecking ball being thrown against our wall. Who's doing that? You." And he pointed at me. And I tried to look innocent. But it was kind of tough when I was standing next to a Looney Tunes-esque imprint of myself on the wall. Yeah, I got sent to detention that day. I had to write what I'd done wrong on a yellow slip, which was being too funny for 10 a.m. Yeah, that was... I don't run into walls anymore, so that's because I'm not allowed to. But I'm a big fan of comedy. I have comedy influences, and I think, for me, my main comedy influence is Frank Woodley. Like, Frank Woodley is a comedian slash writer slash performer slash doesn't matter what he does because everything's golden. And speaking of gold, I went to see his show Fool's Gold recently, and it is one of the best stand-up comedy shows I've ever seen, and far and away the only. But I went to see it with my family, and we were all having a ball. Like, there's this one joke he talks about where he's talking about roads, how the potholes get made. Like, how do potholes get made? Like, do the builders go, oh, I'm going to make this part of the road with cement, and I'm going to make this one with cake? And he said that on stage. He said that was the funniest thing, and I laughed way too much in the audience, but it was still very, very funny. And at the end of the show, my mum and my sister wanted more Frank Woodley. They wanted to see him, they wanted to meet him, they wanted to smell him, steal his jacket. They weren't going to mug him, but they were all fans. We were all big fans, but me in particular. So they wanted me to tag along, but I just said to them, nah, Frank Woodley doesn't want to see me. He probably hates me. Teenage angst is hard to look back on. So I waited in the car with my dad, and we waited for a while. We didn't think they were going to get the signature, but lo and behold, they came back and they were so happy. Like, we did it. We got photos and everything. We got his signature too. We got Mark Woodley's signature. And I say, what? And I said, we got Mark Woodley's signature. No, it's Frank Woodley. And suddenly that grin that was never going away disappeared and turned to confusion. And my mum looked down at the pad of paper she got him to write on and goes, oh. And what I can figure out what I think happened, was my mum and my sister went up to Frank Woodley and said, we love the show, Mark. We've seen everything you've ever done. Mark, can you sign this for us? And lo and behold, Frank Woodley signed his signature as Mark Woodley. It is probably the rarest signature ever to exist, and by far the most pointless. So now Frank Woodley definitely hates me, along with the rest of my family line. But that's okay, I assume that anyway. But he's a storyteller, and I'm a big fan of that too. And there's one story I do enjoy telling, and hopefully you'll find a bit humorous, is the story of my first kiss. It's a beautiful story. It should have been one of the best kisses ever to be recorded. It should have been magical. It should have been, but I'm here instead. So, I was on Year 6 camp. Ooh, camp love. And 2 girls had gone missing in the hedge maze. Ooh, double trouble. One of them was the crush I'd had since reception. And since we were in Year 6, this has been a 7-year crush. Oh, unrequited love finally becomes requited. No one was allowed to go looking for either of them, because they were afraid that more kids were going to get lost. But I didn't care. I ran into the maze when nobody was looking to go search for them. Yes, the hero saves the damsel. It's all leading up to a great kiss, right? What happened was, I ran around a very sharp corner and collided with my crush's head. Like, I headbutted her quite significantly. But our lips locked for a second. And I'm counting that as my first kiss, and you can't take that away from me. She knocked me off my feet, but not romantically. It was because it was a very heavy collision. Like, I fell onto the ground, I was blushing. Her face was also turning red, but that might have been the bruising beginning to start. It was a kiss that I would never forget. Well, I probably should have, because of the head injury. With the comedy, I've been studying comedy for a while. I think comedy is my best asset. So I've been writing for quite a while, and I used to deal my comedy at school. I used to write funny PowerPoint presentations, and then I used to deal them. Instead of a drug dealer at our school, we had a comedy dealer. You can imagine how successful I was. I used to wear a very large blazer to imitate a trench coat, and I used to stand outside classrooms and I go, psst, hey, you like to party? Hey, yeah, you like to party? You know what happens at party? Laughter. I got these USB sticks, 8 gig, 16 gig, they're filled with comedy. This one here, it's a PowerPoint presentation about the adventures of Smiley Face and Lightning Guy. It's about 2 pictures I found on clip art, and it's a 3-parter. First part's for free. The first part always gets them hooked. What do you say, man? What did you think I was dealing? Ecstasy? How do you deal ecstasy as an emotion? Where are you going? I wasn't very successful, but the people who did like my stuff, the people who did watch it, loved it, and that's fueled me to pursue my comedic career. Because I do like making people laugh, because it is a great way to determine if they hate me or not, because I'd rather not be hated. A great story along the lines of that is, in my final year of school, I was doing a physics experiment. Sorry, I've been talking for an hour. Physics experiment. And because at this point we know teachers love to torture their students, so instead of letting us pick our own pairs and work with someone we were already comfortable with, she put all our names into this app, and it would randomly generate pairs and put them up on the screen so we'd know where to go. There was one girl in our physics class. Her name was Sarah. Well, is Sarah. She's not dead. Her name is Sarah. And in a class of 14 young boys, we were all very interested to see who got to spend more time with Sarah. And we looked up on the screen, and I immediately saw that I had been paired with Sarah. And I start hearing whispering going around. It's like, who got Sarah? Who got Sarah? It's Daniel. Daniel got Sarah? Yeah, Daniel got Sarah. He's gonna die. And I believed them, because Sarah was the it girl at our school. We don't know how she did it, but she just did it. She was the it girl at our school. She was so beautiful. Like, she had long flowing hair. She was a cheerleader. She was always bubbly and cheery. She might have offered sexual favors for money. Wait, hold on. That was a rumor someone came up with. That definitely not true. I'd never believed it for a second. One of the only times we did talk, though, she said that her credit card was frozen and she'd do anything to get it back. But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Like, look, she didn't do that. She was definitely not offering sexual favors for money. She was definitely having sex, though. That's clearly obvious. Like, she was having sex, but that's fine. That's fine. Look, she can have sex in high school. That's fine. Having sex in high school is fine. I would have liked to have the option, but that's not what we're talking about right now. What we're talking about is I got paired with Sarah. She sat next to me, and I made sure not to look at her directly, because that probably would have offended her. So I just bowed my head like I was bowing to royalty, because I technically was. And we didn't say anything for about an hour. Like, the emptiness of space, but as a noise. Next to us was another pair, and we were kind of living vicariously through their conversation, and they were talking about a physics experiment that we had just done, and it was about measuring voltage. And during one of the trials, they found that the voltage being inputted was the voltage being outputted was so far lower than what was being inputted that it had to be going somewhere, and they theorized that they had accidentally created a black hole that was sucking up the voltage. I thought this was ridiculous, so I said in a comedic, snarky, kind of charming way, like, oh, better watch out for black... Okay, where we last left off, the camera fell off the thing, and I'm thinking I was talking for an hour anyway, so I'll just pick up where we left off. Where did we leave off? Something about a black hole? That's right. They were talking about how a black hole was sucking up the voltage, and I said in a sort of charming way, like, oh, we better watch out for black holes. Better watch out for the camera falling off the thing. God damn it. So better watch out for black holes. And Sarah started laughing. And I at first thought that, like, I'd offended her, like she was crying, like, I'm so sorry, Your Highness. Like, I'd offended her with my voice. But she was laughing. And I decided to run with it. And I said, if we're worrying about black holes, we should probably look out for Black Panthers too, better close the windows. And she started laughing, and we had a great time for 2 weeks in our physics experiment. I was doing my Frank Woodley impression, and she was laughing the whole time, and we got the experiment done, and we were good friends, good pals, chumming it up, and she never spoke to me again after that. But another way of looking at it is she never spoke to me again after that. She could have easily ruined the rest of my year, badmouthed me to much more powerful people, and made my life hell. But instead, she left me alone. And I did that with the power of comedy. I would not be alive today if it weren't for sarcasm. I use comedy to sort of break the ice between me and the rest of the world, and a particularly icy event that I have to go through every now and again is going to the doctors to get a refill of my prescription. And like, it is kind of nervous looking because it is a very like dark place. There's a lot of strangers around that have some sort of disease and you don't want to catch it, so it is kind of nerve-wracking. And like, I sit down, I nervously look around as I do, and I look across from me on the wall and I see a poster, and it is one of the funniest things I've ever read, and I wrote it down specifically because of how funny it was. It said, "Protect yourself against shingles." Gets better. "A free vaccine is now available for people aged 70 to 79 years old. Shingles can be very painful and lead to serious long-term complications." And I thought to myself, long-term? At 70? Like, 70 is the starting point, and long-term, what are the chances? Like, oh, my bones ache and everything hurts. Yeah, but what's new, Myron? Come on, you can't blame that on the shingles. You're getting old. You're getting old. It's like puberty, except of flowering, you're wilting. And I start to grin a little bit, start to chuckle, but the nerves are still much more powerful, so I don't like get comfortable yet. So I start nervously looking around again. I look to the left of that poster. There is another poster there. I happen to take note of that too. It said, "Narcotics and sedatives will not be provided to patients who do not have a regular doctor at this practice." And I just thought to myself, what does a not regular doctor look like? Like, okay, glad you've come in today. We're going to give you a 6-month prescription for antibiotics, and if there are any issues at all, please don't hesitate to call. Do you have any questions at the moment? Please phrase them in the key of E. "I'm a doctor!" Are you sure you're a regular doctor at this practice? What makes you say that? I went to Flinders University to get my medical degree. I trained for 8 years. And I'm very excited to be here right now, talking to you. You seem like a nice person, and I wouldn't want to see you get any worse. So is there anything else that you want to tell me? Who let that doctor in? And I just start laughing to myself in the waiting room of this doctor's office. And I'm comfortable finally. But it is a bad look to have when you're laughing to yourself in a doctor's office. Like, I'm seeing like a well-worn Santa and a woman throwing up colors that they don't even have crayons for, and they're shuffling away from me. Like, it's good that you're going to a doctor's, but like, this is the wrong kind of doctor for you. So, because I'm in my final year of university, I'm applying for jobs, and part of that is knowing what makes you stand out from everyone else, what would get you the job. I believe that my best asset is my sense of humor, so I've decided to train to be an accountant. I've been studying a Bachelor of Commerce, specializing in accounting for 3 years now, and that is probably the funniest joke in the show. In one of my first lectures, I was told that accounting is an art form. It is art. It is like sculpting or painting or maths. Because art is subjective. Accounting is not an art. Art is subjective. And accounting is 8. Not 8. 8 is 8. There's no denying that. 4 plus 7 equals 11. Or is it? No, it equals 11. And that's why you're not an accountant anymore, Gary. But I ignore that, and I've been doing it for 3 years, and hopefully I'll get a job in that field. And because I get, because it's very job centric where I go to the university. They want to make sure that we have a job by the time we leave. I get sent a lot of emails like the top 10 things you should have on your resume, or the 8 cringeworthy things that you do during an interview, to sort of help us. But my thinking is, if everyone's doing that, then it's not going to set anyone apart. So I have to come up with something essential for my resume that no one else has, that'll set me apart and get me the job. I know my best asset is my sense of humor. So I've decided to put a joke in my resume. Good idea. I've been asking friends and family, like, what joke do you think would be appropriate? What would work in a resume to submit to an accounting firm? And the general consensus I've gotten back is, don't put a joke in your resume. It's stupid and it won't work. And I have listened to them. There is no joke in my resume, because I haven't found the right one yet. So if anyone has any idea of what I could put there, just let me know. I thought I had a really good one recently. I just did a fun, simple joke about fairy tale characters, and it turned out that joke was much more sexual than I realized. You only have to learn that lesson once. The joke I had heard the joke from the Doug Anthony All-Stars, which is a musical comedy group. They're known for their songs about killing hippies and terrorism. So that was probably the first clue that the joke wasn't PG friendly. But I'll tell you the joke. It's just a simple joke. I thought it was fine. Do you wake up in the morning feeling sleepy and grumpy? You must be Snow White. I thought that was just a fine joke that anyone could listen to. Turns out that joke takes place in a world where Snow White and the 7 dwarves are polyamorous and banging daily. Like, apparently Doc was her favourite, but she tuckered him out early in the day, so she had to use Sleepy and Grumpy to make up for it. So no, that joke never made it to the resume. But there was one company I applied to work for, which I thought I would have been a good fit for. It's an accounting firm that works in tech-based companies, and it's important to do research on the company you're about to apply for, so you can like personalize the resume for them. And on the core values, one of their core values was, we love to smile and enjoy a good laugh. So they were just asking for what I was about to do. To apply, I had to submit a resume and a cover letter that showed how my traits matched up with their core values. So I added a tiny joke, just a small joke at the end, just to prove that I'm not all talk. So on my cover letter that I submitted for a job to prove that I am better than everyone else, in the last paragraph it read, I am also known for having a good sense of humor. However, humor is subjective, so most people are disappointed by me. I put that on a cover letter that I used to apply for a job, and I didn't hear back from them. But this may all be part of the plan. I may come home one day and the whole company will be there, and the CEO will go, we love the cover letter, son, you got the job, and that'd be amazing. And then I'll walk in somewhere else and my ex-girlfriend would be there, and she'll take me back. And then I'll walk somewhere else, and then the doctor will be there. It's like, don't worry, mate, we got you a new brain free of charge, and my life will be perfect. But I'm over it. We're under the bridge. That's the end of the show. I have no more material, so cut. That's the end of my story. It wasn't a great ending. I realized that, because nothing really happened at the end. But this is my life story, and I realized that I don't really have a life story to tell yet. Like, I'm only 20 years old. I don't have a lot of life experience. Like that Justin Bieber biography he wrote when he was 16, and it was like 240 pages. Like, that is way too soon for triple digits. Like, the first thing you'll notice when you open that book is like, wow, that is a big font. Like, I don't really have a lot to write about my life. I mean, I could write a brochure on my life, a couple paragraphs and a lot of pictures, and you can pick one up at any hotel lobby. a lot of people on YouTube try to do draw my life videos to tell their life story, and they go for about 5 minutes, and I'm going overtime on an hour-long stand-up show. So maybe I was too ambitious, but it's what I wanted to do. And with that, I'll end on this story. All my life, I've wanted to be a comedian, to the point where when I was 10 years old, that was my dream career. That's what I wanted to do. I practice like stand-up routines I'd seen on TV the last night. I'd even memorized the Who's on First bit from Abbott and Costello. Like, I didn't understand it, but they were talking really quickly, and that was good enough for me at the time. Because I was 10 years old, I was in year 5, and I was going into year 6. Now, this is a big year at my school because it's the transition from the junior school to the middle school. So there was a big ceremony happening where we would walk up on stage to the head of school, take our certificate, and while we were doing that, she was going to read out some facts about us that we had to prepare earlier. Most importantly, what we wanted to do when we got out of school. For me, this was a no-brainer. I wanted to be a comedian. I wanted to make people laugh, and I was so proud as punch with my answer. So the night happens. I'm one of the first kids to go up, but there's still some people before me. And it's the typical answers that you would expect, you know, like the sporty kids want to be soccer players, the fat kids want to be chefs, the girls want to marry the soccer players, that sort of stuff. So with me having a very original answer, I was very happy to be like maybe the only person who wanted to do that. I walked up on stage and the teacher said, "This is Daniel Blatch. He is in Mr. Bell's class. His favourite subject is maths. And when he grows up, he wants to be a comedian." And I immediately knew something was wrong, because that's exactly the way she said it. She said comedian, like it was the most ridiculous thing she'd ever heard in the world. But, you know, that was only one person. I thought that was only one person. I don't have to worry about it. Like, that's one person's opinion. Plus, she's a teacher. So she's a second-class citizen in my eyes. Like, the biggest round of laughter I ever received was on that night. And it was the night I learned the difference between laughing with someone and laughing at someone. Laughing with someone is laughter that you can feel proud of. That's laughter you've earned, you've worked for it, everyone's happy, and that's because of you. Laughing at someone isn't really laughing at all. It's more like yelling at someone who doesn't fit in, just making loud noises to make them run away. Like, laughing with someone is like, he told a really funny joke, and laughing at someone is like, they foreclosed on his house. So I learned the difference that night because, unfortunately, the laughter I received was the latter. They all laughed me off stage at my own graduation, just going, you'll never be able to do that. Oh, it's a tough industry. Oh. And I walked down the stairs holding back tears and broken dreams, telling myself I'll be an accountant instead. But that was a long time ago, and I've clearly gone through a lot since then. You know, cut to 10 years later, and I'm still trying. I'm still trying to understand my anxiety. I'm still trying to fit in and not be alone. I'm still trying to make people laugh, or politely encourage people to laugh, I should say. I'm still trying to do all of these things. And I think at the end of the day, after everything I've been through, I realized that I don't have control over much except the try. So I'll keep trying in the hopes that, you know, maybe one day, possibly, best case scenario, I might not have to try anymore. One final point before I go. 10 years ago, I walked out on stage for my junior school graduation to a crowd of crotchety old, possibly retirees, as they laughed me off stage for my dreams. They never thought that the kid who was too shy to talk to anyone, who would never be able to make anyone laugh. So, cut to 10 years later, and they're probably all dead now, Yeah. Yeah, they're probably all dead. So I win. But I'm over it. Oh, that's the end of the show! I did it! It's over! It's nice! The audience cut